Home Literacy Environment and Children's Reading Skills Article Review by Ashley Cawthon, June 25th, 2022, Read 884, Fort Hays State University. The article is entitled, Why Are Home Literacy and Children's Reading Skills Associated? In previous research done on similar studies, there have been links found between home literacy and children's reading skills. It has been shown to improve reading fluency for students. Also, previous studies have been based on socioeconomic status, language spoken in the home, culture, as well as how many books are in a children's home. Further studies have also been done on language development in homes based on socioeconomic status, and they found that children who come from homes of poverty have less verbal skills and vocabulary than students from high socioeconomic status homes. The purpose of the study was to find out if hereditary factors such as parental reading fluency skills had an effect on children's reading fluency, thus proving that home literacy environments impact children's success in reading and that it is hereditary. A quote from the article is, children's word reading accuracy and fluency is linked to aspects of the family environment that children grow up in, including their parents' educational attainment, how often the parents read themselves and to their children, and the availability of reading material. So on the next slide is details of the study. The data was collected over 2 years with families in Amsterdam, and only families that had both biological parents in the home were selected. Data was collected from 101 families in the first year. Data was collected from 195 families in the second year, and 3 measures were used to collect data. The first being reading fluency scores for the parents and children, the social status of the neighborhoods where the families were living, and the home literacy environment, which I'll go into more on the next slide. Here is the data that was collected. So reading fluency scores was the first measure they collected for, and they used a test that they gave to both the parents and the child, the same test. It was a reading fluency test. There was 1 minute of timed word fluency checks, and then 1 minute of pseudo word or nonsense word fluency checks. The second measure that they collected data for was the socioeconomic status of the family. That included the neighborhood in which they were living, and what was the parents' highest level of education. And that reflects upon having money for education. And then the third measure was the home environment. Again, they wanted to know the level of education of the parent, the number of books in the home, and how many magazine newspaper subscriptions they had, as well as how often the parents were reading. There is a chart included from the article that shows the actual data they had collected for those 3 measures. Their findings were that parental education and their own reading fluency only accounted for 7% variance in children's reading scores. This showed only a minor impact on students' reading fluency. Parents' reading habits at home showed a significant correlation to a child's reading fluency. So basically, if a parent is reading a lot, the children will model the same behavior more frequently. The number of books at home also correlated significantly with the children's reading fluency scores. The more books they have, the better their scores were, and this was also reflected in higher socioeconomic status families. Parents who read a lot had higher socioeconomic status and education, and access to the amount of print materials at home all affected reading fluency of the children. And then I pulled out a quote that came from the article that basically summed up their findings. And it says, we showed that children's basic reading skill is related to several aspects of the home literacy environment. They seem to correlate with children reading because children inherit from their parent both a genetic tendency for a certain reading level and the home environment they're exposed to. So they did find hereditary factors It wasn't their parents' level of education, it was more how often they were seeing parents reading and how much print that the children were exposed to. On my last slide, I have my reference. This is the actual article that I read. I've included a link, so if you would like to read the article and gather your own data from it, you are welcome to. Thank you.